Hi, it's Danielle here from the Teaching Entrepreneur Association. And today I wanted to have a talk with you about what makes a good teacher. So there are so many things that make a good teacher, so many that, when I list them out, it kind of is a bit daunting. It's like, oh my goodness. But good teaching is not just about your subject knowledge. It's the way that we impart that subject knowledge. So it's no good being brilliant at what you do if you can't teach it. And it's, again, no good not knowing your subject knowledge and being a brilliant teacher, because the two are, cleverly intertwined. Let me give you an example. When I first started out teaching, I'd got my first teaching qualifications, and I have to say I was a little bit cocky. And somebody rang me and asked me to teach desktop publishing, which this is a long time ago. And I thought, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I teach IT anyway. How difficult can it be? And I walked into that classroom and I was brimming with enthusiasm, but I hadn't prepared properly. I hadn't done the work that needs to go in to be a good teacher. And I swore to myself when I walked out that classroom after that session, I'd never, ever do that again. So planning is obviously a key part of it. But before we go into that, I just wanted to share with you something that I do with my students. And I have a little form that I ask them to fill out. And I say to them, what was the one teacher in your life? Who were they? What did they teach? And what was it that made them absolutely brilliant? Because sometimes when we think about it, schooling and maybe at college or university even, any time that we're being taught, it's not always the best experience. And in fact, I've just been talking recently to a lady, and she was telling me about how bad her teaching was and also her teacher training. To me, it's criminal. But anyway, so what I wanted to do today is just to give you a few golden nuggets as to what I think makes really good teaching. And going back to that little activity that I give to my students, it's amazing what comes out. Because one of the most amazing things that comes out is that they always remember the name of that person that taught them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in a classroom. It doesn't have to be a teacher. It could be perhaps their grandfather teaching them about gardening or their driving instructor. But the key thing is here, what made them so good? What was it about them that made them learn? And sometimes I get things like, I give them a whole list, or actually they give me a whole list and we write it up on the board. But it's things like they were a great role model, that they were very motivational, that they were enthusiastic within their subject. They absolutely loved teaching it, that they went that extra mile, that they were passionate and creative, inspirational. All these words come out. And I think it's fascinating because when you actually write that list down, you think, good Lord, for me to be a really good teacher, I've got to be all these things. We all try, but I'm not sure that we all, get to be the best teacher that we can be and be all those things all the time. It just doesn't happen. So I thought I'd talk to you about three main things that I think are really important. The first one is about getting to know your students. You've got to get to know your students inside out. You've got to find out why have they come along to your lesson. What is it that they really want to learn? Have they got any learning difficulties or disabilities? Anything about them, what's their interest? And all this information is so important because it leads into the planning and the delivery and the assessment and everything else of your teaching. But what I find fascinating is that people take this information in and then don't do anything with it. It's those are golden nuggets of information which you can then put into your planning, and you can then twist and turn and move your planning to suit the learning of your students. And by that I mean, this is the second golden nugget, that we should always teach in the way that our students learn best. Teach them in the way that they learn. Because if you do that, then the chances are that they really will learn with you. But if you just go off and teach in perhaps the way that you as the teacher like to learn, they're never going to learn anything. Or they'll learn despite your teaching. So find out about them and then use that information to teach in the way that they learn best. My third point is feedback. Feedback, feedback, feedback. It's so important. But feedback has to be done in a motivational and an inspirational way. And the reason that I say that is, how many times have you been given feedback and it's been so overwhelming, or you didn't know what to do with it? You know, they said, right, you need to do that. You're thinking, okay, but how? How do I do that? So I try really hard when I'm giving feedback to actually give the feedback, the strengths, what they did really well, the areas for development, not failures or you did that wrong or whatever, but the areas for development. And then thirdly, and most importantly, how they do that. So how are they going to put right what they've done wrong? There's nothing worse than being told, okay, this is an area for development, and then nobody telling you how to put it right or which way to go. Sometimes I even say to my students, okay, so this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. Okay, so tell me now, what are you going to do in order to put that right? To turn that area for development into a strength. Share with me how you're going to do it, so that I know when they walk away from me, they know what they're talking about. Now, this was just a little snippet of mine, just to sort of share with you what I think are the attributes of good teaching. But as there's so many, as I've said to you before, what I've done is I've made a little handout for you. So if you want that, there's a link below this video, and feel free to take it. And hopefully it'll come up with some other suggestions that you'll find really useful. Okay, until next time.